Welcome to the Planet Amazon podcast with Adam Schafer, where we explore the world of Amazon and other e-commerce marketplaces. Join us as we delve into the latest strategies and tactics for successful selling on the world's largest online marketplace.
Hello, I'm Adam Schafer, and welcome to Planet Amazon, where we talk about all things Amazon. And we help brands navigate the $600 billion Amazon marketplace and help them become successful. We have some great guests that visit us, but we have a really super smart guest with us today. His name is Nikolai Tomin, and he is the Vice President of E-commerce at Phelps United. And this guy is a wizard. He knows it all. I don't think I've ever stumped him on a question yet. And today we have a bunch of questions that I get asked from brands daily. So let's see how far we get with Nikolai and hear some of the magic. Nikolai, welcome to Planet Amazon.
Good morning. That was very high praise from you, Adam. Thank you.
Well, you know, I love you, man. And you're definitely one of the smartest guys I know, if not the smartest on the Amazon side, that's for sure. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about you so we can let the audience know a bit about your background?
Sure. So it started in Amazon world probably about 5.5, 6 years ago, where I was working for a startup agency managing brands across the Amazon and other e-commerce platforms. From there, we dabbled in a lot of agency work, ranging from content listings to advertising to strategic growth opportunities. And I kind of got a good grasp of the Amazon world starting there. And we were hyper focused in apparel. And as my career grew and changed, I found the opportunity to work for Phelps United back in May of 2020. And as of that point, my experience, my work career has grown exponentially, ranging from Amazon to Walmart to Newegg. Basically, any third-party site we have worked and grown and pivoted onto a really omni-channel experience. And from there, we focus on technology, we focus on consumers and consumables, and I really got my hands wet on all things Amazon.
That's cool, man. You come with a breadth of knowledge, that's for sure. So I'm talking to brands every day, trying to help them figure out what their Amazon strategy should be and how to best leverage this, you know, amazing platform. But it's pretty complicated, and you know, I get like the same questions because the same things resonate with every brand. Some are worried about some things more than others, but it always comes down to a few of the same things. So let's talk about one that I hear all the time, and it kind of drives me crazy, but it's something that it's kind of obvious. But so many of these brands are saying, why do I need to pay any attention to Amazon at all? I have so many people selling my stuff on Amazon. I'm already selling on Amazon. You know, why do I need to get involved? Why do I need to sell on Amazon when I have all these other brands doing it? Like, you know, I don't get it, Adam. Tell me. So, Nikolai, I'm going to ask you. I don't get it. Tell me, why do they need to participate and have an Amazon strategy?
Absolutely. So this is a huge question, and it really varies at a brand level. But ultimately, Amazon is one of the biggest platforms with the most organic search being driven through it. And at the end of the day, if you're not competing, your market share is going to one of your other competitors who is. Additionally, Amazon is a great search engine. People are more so searching on Amazon to learn about your product, your brand, than they are on Google. And ultimately, with PPC the way it is, people are bidding on your keywords regardless if you're there or not. So if you're not on Amazon, you're not bidding on your own keywords, ultimately that search is going to another reseller. And as Amazon has grown, people find ways to get product listed. And if your product's on the open market, people are able to source it. More or less, your product's going to end up on Amazon. And unfortunately, you're going to lose a lot of the control that you would have if you originally launched.
So stay with that for a second, because that's really, you know, the big deal. They think, oh, I'm getting sales, but you got all these different sellers selling it, maybe not creating the content the way the brand would want to be represented, and also maybe lowering the price where it hurts their channel. So what do you see there?
Yeah, a map violation, depending on the category, depending on the brand, is one of the biggest offenders we see on Amazon. A lot of these resellers are sourcing your products through the open market, directly through a wholesale channel, and end up pivoting the product onto Amazon. If there's consumer demand, they're going to be able to sell and maximize their sell through by listing your product on Amazon. And as that's said, it's a double-edged sword. Yes, you're getting sales through distribution or wholesale, but at the end of the day, you're not protecting your brand. There's map violations going on, and your market's going to get very washed with unreasonable, unresponsive sellers.
Yeah, I mean, also what I've seen too is like the brands will look at the content, and I'll look at the content with them, and it's the wrong information on the product. It doesn't have the pictures that in the videos and the explanation, but in many cases, it's just wrong. And nobody's really controlling the integrity of the brand and the content. Um, how do you fix that if you're the brand?
Yeah, there's a few different ways you can go about fixing the content. It's definitely a lot more difficult than if you originally started the content creation on Amazon. So that's always one of the first things we recommend to a brand wanting or considering going onto the platform. But if you're in one of these situations where resellers have listed your product and merchandised it wrong and aren't branding it according to your brand guidelines, there's a few different ways you can go about addressing it. The first and one of the most well known is through brand registry. Brand registry is going to be able to give you the tools and access to re-navigate your listings and rebrand them according to the brand guidelines. And this is really effective because a lot of the times, as you mentioned, the listings have errors. They aren't merchandising it well. The product images are not there. And by signing up for brand registry, by associating that brand on Amazon under your brand, then it gives you full access to all things said to those listings.
That's important. Is it hard for a brand to get brand registry? What do they need?
Yeah, so it's really not too difficult. There is a time delay process when you apply for brand registry. The first thing that you're going to need when creating your brand registry account, and this is basically a sister variant to Seller Central, the brand registry portal, and you'll need your registered trademark, whether it's under the USPTO or whatever country you filed under. And from there, you submit that trademark to show that you're the authorized brand of said trademark. And Amazon will verify it. They'll send a confirmation code to the lawyers. And then from there, you essentially tie that brand on Amazon to yourself through your brand registry portal.
So if you're a brand, I mean, I tell brands like you gotta have brand registry. You gotta apply for brand registry. If you can't control your brand, it's going to be a mess. People are going to go solve your content problem for you, and you're not going to like it. And so that brand registry is kind of like one of the number one things you got to do if you want to be on Amazon. Protect your brand, protect your content. So that's a great one. So thanks for that. And you know, okay, so now I'm a brand. I want to sell on Amazon. Okay, maybe there's some other sellers on it, and I want to try and fix that. But um, how should I sell on Amazon? Should I be trying to sell to Amazon, where they call Amazon 1P, or should I try to do it myself or through another reselling partner, like a 3P partner? How does that all work?
Yeah, so it's a big question. 1P and 3P has been a long-lasting debate whether what channel is right and what channel is wrong. At the end of the day, I view 1P versus 3P as a hybrid approach you should always consider. There's pros and cons for both, where 3P, you get a lot more control of your content, pricing. You can kind of go outside of the structure that 1P has in terms of listing creation. Whereas the big benefits for 1P is you get paid on POs. They send you a PO every Monday, and it's very consistent and regular. However, you're a cog in the machine. A lot of the times you're not going to get a brand registry rep or a 1P rep unless you're meeting a significant quota on Amazon. And without that, it's very hard to keep your brand controlled. So that's where a lot of resellers or sellers then pivot to the 3P side, where the 3P side, you have a lot more control, whether it's pricing, content listings, or how you're going to market your catalog. And at the end of the day, you have to pick what's best for you. Where 1P makes sense is you normally get paid immediately or on net terms. Whereas 3P, it's more of a consignment base where you're only getting paid post 2 weeks after that product gets sold. So depending on how cash flow is, depending on how you want to leverage the market, it's very indicative to which platform you choose to sell under.
So I understand that when you sell to 3P, when you sell to 1P, Amazon will pay you in 30, 60, or 90 days, and they'll make you pay for that in the sense that if you want to get paid in 30 days, they'll probably ask for a cash discount. So maybe it's like 2% that they're going to want off the top. Is that correct, or I have it wrong?
Yeah, it's a brand by brand cadence. We've seen some have net 45 with a 1.5% fee associated to getting paid early. Some have net 60, some even have net 90. And depending on what your product is and lead times and sourcing, it's a tough position to be in to wait 90 days.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. But sometimes it's tough to give up the two the 2 points when you have it. And then, I always talk to brands and say, look, like if you're going to sell to Amazon, you got to be prepared for the unknown charges. And so they have some basic charges that I know about, but there's always the things that I haven't even heard about or seen, but I know exist. One is, first of all, they're going to negotiate the best, lowest PO price. So they're going to get the best possible wholesale price plus, right? And then there's other fees. Like, what are the other standard fees that they're hitting for?
Yeah, so the main buckets are going to be co-op damages and freight allowance. And depending on your product and category, it varies wildly. So if you're selling um, small and light product, you're probably going to see very minimal freight allowance. Where if you're selling bulky projectors, monitors, anything that's heavy or dimmed highly, your freight allowance is probably going to be significantly higher than those sellers. And depending on the category you're in, some are hyper competitive with this marketing, and they're going to require a lot higher of a marketing funnel in order to push your product to compete against 3P sellers. And you have to consider everything outside of just your PO cost when you're selling on a 1P basis, because what eventually happens, what we see with a lot of sellers, is they look at their PO cost and think, I'm making more than I would if I sold on a 3P platform. However, they're not factoring in their co-op, their damages and freight. Some have margin guarantees with Amazon, and these are all huge factors that really weigh profitability selling on
Yeah.
Amazon.
I mean, you just said it. I mean, I know we talked, says, Amazon, has them signed up for a margin guarantee. What is a margin guarantee?
So we've been seeing this more and more frequently with uh, individuals going to the 1P platform. And what essentially is happening is no matter what Amazon sells the product for, they're clawing back margin that they book against the OEM that's selling to the 1P platform. And if, depending on the agreement, it's 15, 18, 20 points that Amazon gets, if they sell below map, because when you're selling to 1P, you're authorizing Amazon to sell at whatever strategic price they need to sell in order to move through the inventory, they'll claw back that margin that they're discounting the product on.
So if Amazon sells it below the minimum advertised price, for every dollar they're selling it below that minimum advertised price, they're going to go invoice the brand for that and claw back the money.
Exactly. It's
Amazing.
essentially their own dictated BER.
I want that deal. That's great. Wow. So, and so that's why, I mean, I always lean more towards 3P, but I definitely see, 1P has advantages sometimes. And I do agree with the hybrid approach for sure. But I definitely see a lot more control with 3P and going with kind of 1 3P, doing it yourself is complicated because you have to be an Amazon expert. You have to create a store, have some infrastructure, and all that goes with it. So I think getting a really good partner to help you with there is really helpful. But I definitely see some instances where selling to Amazon will work. You just got to really understand what all the fees are going to be, because there's more. If you ship the product to Amazon, and you tell me if I have this right, you ship it to Amazon, they place a PO, you ship it there, and somehow it doesn't show up or it gets lost. They receive it, but it's missing in action. They're not going to pay you for it, and you have to go prove that it was delivered, and you only have a limited time for that. Is that right?
That's correct. And depending on, truthfully, on 1P, you have a lot smaller of a time frame to submit these claims, and you have to be on it, and you have to be fighting them constantly in order to verify that your product was shipped. Ultimately, they're going to charge you for those units, and you're either going to be out of the product or out of the margin.
Yep. I mean, it's wild. So you got to watch it. So you need either people that are going to be doing this for you. So you have to hire people internally to manage them. Even if you're 1P and you're selling to them, you need to be watching every penny, because whatever you think your margin is going to be, it's going to be that minus something because you're not understanding the charges. So you got to be aware of that. Now talking about inventory, that's a big conversation. Their questions are, how do I manage my inventory? How do I sell it so it's prime? Give us some tips and tricks on inventory management and how a seller or a brand should go about thinking about inventory management.
Yeah, this is a huge question and huge conversation that everybody has, and it's dependent on a few things. One is, what is your supply time, or what is your lead time getting stock into the States if it's sourced outside? That's always something critical you have to consider when forecasting inventory. And the second thing is, do you have a 3PL, or is all of this going direct to FBA? Whether you're selling FBM or FBA, you have to time your inventory correctly. Amazon's constantly changing their inventory metrics on sellers, and this really prohibits a lot of people from maximizing the space and the sell through that they have. They're constantly tweaking it, so it's something that we have to stay on top of, have to consider, have to learn how to reallocate inventory based off of sell through and run rate. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, you need to stock your product at Amazon. You have to watch your 14-day sell through, and then you have to make replenishment decisions based off of those sell through metrics that you have. Whether you want to send product up every week, if you have the capability to, or every other week, it's something that we always recommend to our clients, that we're allocating inventory and stock to land at FBA at all times. This allows you to maximize your inventory on hand, plan accordingly for future changes and holiday seasons, and also keeping your quantity limits at a reasonable metric where you're not overstocking FBA.
So you're saying that Amazon limits how much inventory you could actually store there. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Amazon changes on a weekly basis, and then recently they changed it to a monthly basis where they allocate space towards each third-party seller, and from there you get to decide at an account level or a catalog level what inventory is going to go up to utilize that space that they give you. And they measure it off two things. So they measure it off of a quantity limit, so how much physical units you can store at FBA. And then where they really get you is there's a second metric, which is your cubic measurement, that is physical space you get to take up in their facilities. Since they have distribution all across the US, your product will get sent to 30 different warehouses. However, at the end of the day, they view it as physical space that you're capturing as a whole. So it's a tightrope walking balance kind of situation, and you have to measure your inventory levels based off of those two metrics as well as your sell through.
So that's interesting, because being out of stock kind of stinks, right? Like if you don't have it, you can't sell it. They won't post it for sale, and you're limited for space. So I think this concept of always shuffling stuff up to Amazon seems like a winner. if you have the logistics to do it. But um, tell us the bad about going out of stock. I mean, that's what we hear from many brands is, hey, whether they're 1P or 3P, they went out of stock and they had a really bad month. So tell us more about keeping things in stock and why it's bad to be out of stock.
Yeah, running out of stock is detrimental to your success on Amazon. Amazon's all based off of sell-through and conversion and click-through, which rank your products higher on the platform, which gets you a better BSR. And the moment you gap out, your product stops generating in the search engine, where consumers are no longer finding your product, or if they are, it's resulting in a zero conversion because there's nothing to convert on. We see this happen constantly, whether it's inventory issues between receiving in stock or getting stock landed at FBA in time, which kind of pivots to the comment earlier where you always want to be funneling inventory to FBA in order to prevent this while keeping a buffer stock to stay in stock. So at the moment you run out of stock on an Amazon listing, you'll immediately see the detriment that's caused by what's considered gapping out of that inventory.
Yeah, I mean, and for us, we're always looking at what number are we on the Amazon bestseller rankings, and you work so hard to get in that top 50 or the top 25, the top 10. I mean, and then the velocity is really cranking, but then all of a sudden you're out of stock and you go backwards and you got to start again. Maybe not from zero, but you got to start again. And that's painful and potentially expensive.
Very expensive. And normally what we do with clients that run into these issues is the quickest ways to capture that audience again, which is typically funneled through AMS or advertising dollars. And when you gap out of a listing within 12 hours, you'll immediately see your product ranking decrease. And it's a clawback to get back to that, as you mentioned, top 50, top 25 spot.
That makes me sad. So you just touched on advertising. So it's a part of the game now. Like you can't be on Amazon and not advertise unless maybe you're Apple selling iPads or something. But tell us about advertising and getting more visibility for products so you could actually build the ranking. How does it all work? What do you recommend and how do you go about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So advertising's key to launching product, let alone staying in the top 10, top 25, top 50 rankings, because it's so heavily based off of search volume. And that's where advertising plays a huge importance on your success selling on the platform. It's a huge conversation that can go a few different ways, but ultimately, we always recommend that advertising is a need to have on Amazon rather than a want to have. And whether you're reallocating 1, 2, 3, 5% of your top line revenue back into an AMS budget, ultimately that's going to help you recapture more sales. It's going to help your products get ranked better, which means you're also going to see the benefit through more organic sales as your product's going to be posting more organically across the platform. And one of the other more consistent conversations we have around marketing is your market share. You're able to capture a lot of market share through your competitors, through like brands selling in the industry, where you can now start targeting those listings, start targeting those brands to showcase your product and siphon a lot of those sales towards your brand.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I'll show a brand, I'll type in their brand name, and before you ever see any of their products, you see all their competitors first. So they're obviously buying those keywords with the brand in it. It's pretty interesting. And, if I was going to break in, would I try to do that first or would I go with something different? What's the lowest hanging fruit on advertising?
So the lowest hanging fruit is what's considered defensive campaigns, which is where you're advertising across your brand name. This is only really effective if you have a brand name to promote. Where we see a lot of private label product come up on Amazon, where it's under a brand new brand name, there's no organic search traffic generally funneled to those terms. And that's where you have to pivot a little bit. So if you are a brand that has an audience, always start advertising against your keywords first. Otherwise, where customers are searching for you, your competitors are buying those keywords and you're no longer showing up. So it's imperative that you're running defensive campaigns at all times. And that's probably one of the lowest hanging fruits. There's also a lot of conversation with new types of tactics on AMS. One of them being is what's considered a low bid catch-all. Low bid catch-all is kind of in the name. You're bidding against every keyword imaginable at a very low CPC, and you're hoping that those obscure keywords are one, driving traffic to your listing to rank better, but two, ultimately some of those are going to convert, and you're paying pennies on the dollar for keywords that nobody's bidding against, and you're really jump starting your listings, you're jump starting your overall traffic, and essentially capturing sales that would never have come to you to begin with.
That's
And
cool.
this
I
is,
love it.
yeah, one of the great things is you're hitting an audience that doesn't know about you. So you could be capturing lifetime customers that are then going to come back and reshop through your products.
That's awesome. And so I've been seeing a lot more video advertising on Amazon spilling out on the search results. I mean, have you been messing around with the video advertising, and is that working? And is it hard to do?
Right. So video advertising came out about 5 or 6 years ago on the platform, but it was not utilized to any degree. Over the last 2 years, we've seen a huge spike in brands or agencies running video advertising on the platform. And currently, it's one of the most lucrative ways to maximize your AMS budget, depending on your category. So, video advertising is very important when you have a product that needs a lot of information to be explained for what it does, the use, the functions, and where you get a 30-second video clip, you can explain why your product is essential to those customers. And with the way the platform is right now, we're seeing video advertising at a much cheaper conversion rate than we are with just general sponsored products and sponsored brand banners.
That's pretty cool. I mean, so is it hard for the common seller to create a video, or is there any tips and tricks you can give us there?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say it's hard, but you generally would need to either outsource it or have a production team in-house that can create this content designed to be sold on Amazon. So typically you want your product videos to be anywhere from 10 to 30 seconds maximum. However, you can go over that, but nobody's watching video ads while they're scrolling through Amazon. So you generally want to figure out all of the information you can talk about for that product and pack it into a short segment where you're going to have consumers stay and watch through the whole advertising video. That way, by the time that they finish the video, they're going to your listing and then verifying what it does, what you've said, and ultimately purchasing the product. So at a high level, you want to keep it 10 to 15 minutes, super focused on what the product is, what the benefits are, and why consumers want to purchase it. And in the video, you want to showcase the product as much as possible. You don't want to have somebody on camera narrating information about the product.
And do you or don't you need brand registry to do a video ad?
Brand registry is a requirement for video advertising, as it's funneled under this bucket called branded advertising. You will need brand registry to do both video and branded banners.
I mean, again, brand registry is kind of like, to me, the default. You need that to get going. So make sure you do that. That's huge. Okay, so we talked about a lot of different things, but the first thing we talked about was really you got to have an Amazon strategy. The do nothing strategy of, hey, they got it covered for me, I shouldn't worry about it, is a big mistake that I think we've both seen brands make, and they wind up destroying a brand that they maybe spent 20 or 30 years building, while others are trying to make money on it, and they're hurting their actual normal retail channels and other channels. The other is you got to decide whether you're going to be selling to Amazon, and that comes down to, does Amazon even want to buy this product from you, or sell it through a 3P seller, or sell it yourself on your own 3P store. We recommend kind of this hybrid approach to things, and I think I still like the control of the 3P. I think maybe you try some with Amazon, you do some with a 3P partner, but if you haven't been selling to Amazon yet, I might start with the 3P partner myself. Then you got to create some great content. You got to get your brand registry, create some great content, and then does it just happen? Do you just get sales? Like what are some of the expectations you see some of these brands have? And sometimes they're like, oh, we're going to do, this competitor does $100 million a year on Amazon. So in the real world, we're 3 times the size as them. So we're going to do $100 million and we're just going to kill it. So take a ton of inventory, let's get it up there and let's get going, and it's done. What's the reality?
Yeah, the reality is you're launching on a platform for the first time. Even brands with the biggest brand names in the industry have a long lead time to list, launch, and grow their products on Amazon. So it's really, what is the expectation of the brand? Where do they see most of their sales coming from? Is it brick and mortar? Is it online sales? Or is it mostly through distribution to end users, whether it's commercial or consumer? And when launching on Amazon, I always recommend going to a agency, going to a provider that specializes in Amazon, and figure out what is your growth plan for the platform. What is the true expectations? A lot of people have $1 million, $100 million business, and expect to launch on Amazon and see $5 to $10 million within the first 6 months. Unfortunately, the case is it's a long lead time to get your products listed, shipped to FBA, advertised, and ranking to get your product visible to end users. So we always recommend considering the window that it takes to get product truly from 0 to 1 is going to be a bigger gap. And as mentioned earlier, brands with significant brand name still they start with 5, 10, maybe 15 units of a SKU launching on Amazon. And as the sales compound and the rankings get better, that's when you have to reevaluate. Do I have enough inventory? Is my sell-through expectations reasonable? Or do I need to increase my sell-through expectations and ultimately figure out means to source and sell more stock?
So when a brand starts selling on Amazon, even if they're a well-known brand, they have to have a great marketing plan and a plan of attack for Amazon. They need to develop with their partner the content, an inventory plan that's not beyond everybody's expectations. I mean, the expectations should be a slow but steady ramp up as you start to get your products available at FBA and start to get some advertising in place. But it's not, I listed and they come, right? It doesn't really work that way.
Right. And in a past life, working for a large apparel brand on Amazon, they were the industry leaders. And when we launched product, we would send up 3 units under each SKU, no more, no less. And we would wait to see sell-through expectations, as product that sells really well on other channels doesn't mean it's going to correlate to Amazon and be your top leader, where you can see hero SKUs come through products you never envisioned being your top product on any marketplace. So it's really start small, test your products, cast a wide net, see what sells, and then start focusing on those core product that does move and really double down and figure out means to hyper growth those listings.
What I thought is pretty cool on Amazon, like if you get an ASIN or a SKU rolling, a product selling, if you could then add the next SKU and the next SKU that's related to that SKU that already has some popularity and some traffic, you could tie it to that product to get, I don't want to say free advertising, but much more efficient advertising. Is that right? How does that work?
Yeah, that's exactly correct. So there's different means you can do this, whether it's finding your hero product and then testing multitude of variations on what your category needs, whether it's bulk packaging. So if customers are buying your product in 1, 5, 50 unit quantities, adding in those variant size packs, or you can test colorways if your product is in any shape or form consistent on color. You can test in new colors. You can A/B test, see what sells the best. And again, as mentioned earlier, if you test 3, 5, 10 units, you notice they don't sell, you pull that variant down and you test the next product. Or in terms of a lot of technology product, it's what is the capacity, and can you add more capacity to the product and ultimately increase your ASP, target a different type of bracket of individuals. And now instead of cannibalizing your main listing, you're cannibalizing other competitors in the space that are offering variant products to yours.
I mean, that's awesome, and that's definitely something that we try to help brands do for sure. So going back to you and you helping brands, so you meet a brand, you both decide, hey, this could be a good fit. You know, how does Phelps United work? How do you guys go about working with the brand? Are you purely an agency for fee, or how involved do you get?
Yeah, we have a bunch of different programs, and we really work on tailoring a program that's best for the brand that we're working with. And whether that is a complete Amazon overhaul for their listings, their content, where we see resellers pop up and ultimately advertise wrong information about the brand or the product, we get called in to come and fix everything. And that could be under a service fee model, or one of our other models is the buy and sell approach, where we'll analyze your catalog, we'll figure out where we add a lot of value, where we can help you maximize your dollars and get paid better for your product. Um, and then we'll go through and in tandem, we'll help fix the content, we'll help manage the platform. We handle all the customer service aspects as we're the ones selling the product. And then we have one last approach, which is, well, it's kind of in two. So we either do it in a buy sell model or an agency role where we manage your catalog on Amazon, and we tailor everything from A to Z. And you'll get your own Seller Central account where you have your own portal and you can log into it. And from there, we'll either buy and sell your product under your branded storefront, or we'll do a consignment program where we'll list your product, we'll manage everything. You own the inventory, you own the account, and we'll handle all of the essentially the dirty work that comes with Amazon, whether you're on the 1P or the 3P platform, maximizing your SEO, updating your graphics. We'll create and produce product videos, and then we'll start advertising, testing those product videos to figure out what converts, and ultimately maximizing your profit, your presence on Amazon.
I mean, so basically, you're an agency, and do it on an agency basis, but you'll also put skin in the game and buy the products and sell it for the brand. That's pretty cool. Um, I could see how brands would want to go for that because they want to sell in bulk instead of onesie twosies. Makes a lot of sense. And I think we hit a bunch of different things, but you're a little biased. But I'll ask you this anyway. You know, should a brand, mid-size or large, have an agency like yours, or should they try to go it themselves and build their own store, or sell to Amazon? I mean, again, you know, what's the good, the bad, and the ugly? Why should we work with you guys?
So selling on Amazon is very labor intensive and costly. And whether you're looking at the accounting books and figuring out how to reconcile all of your transactions, Amazon missing product, you need to hire or build a very core team of specialized individuals that can tackle everything that's changing with Amazon and everything Amazon has already been through. So as you mentioned, I'm definitely biased. Bringing this in-house is difficult and costly. Obviously, the benefits are you have it in-house and it's under your leadership. Whereas working with an agency like us, we've built the infrastructure, we've built the team. Since we work with a plethora of brands, we're experiencing everything in real time, and we pivot and make action on everything that's changing within the platform. So at the end of the day, when you work with an agency versus bringing it in-house, you get an immense amount of experience that comes with Amazon, as well as tips, tricks, and specialty changes that we've experienced and been able to implement and test across all of our brands.
If you don't live on Amazon, if you're not doing it every day, it changes by the day. I mean, and they change things and they don't actually tell anybody. So being connected to the community and being able to see what's happening transaction by transaction is a huge help. And I think that brands that are trying to do it themselves or even do it through Amazon have to invest in more infrastructure where they can get a turnkey team and hand it over. And they could be as involved or not involved, but they're at least managing their brand and maximizing Amazon. So I hear you, man. I definitely am biased also, but that's because I've lived it and I see the complications. And it's once you think you got to figure it out, it changes. So I think the big message here is have that Amazon strategy. Make sure you have a marketing plan. Make sure you have your brand registry, and make sure that you're working with a team that really is intimate with Amazon and knows how to make Amazon work for you and not you work for Amazon. I think that's kind of the big picture. So, um, I think we hit a bunch of good stuff. We can go on forever, and I'd love to talk about this with you forever, and we probably will, but probably not on camera. So we're going to wrap it up. Are there any final bits of wisdom that you want to leave our audience with today on the wonderful world of Amazon?
I mean, just in tandem with what you just said, something I preached for a long time is there's no textbook for Amazon, and it's not something you can go read an article and figure out all of the workarounds for what Seller Central and Vendor Central is. So it's really shared experience. It's learning from mistakes. It's learning through other partners and channels to grow your Amazon business and really maximize your presence. So just echoing what you mentioned, it's definitely something that you need to work with a team of people that are experienced, people that have been through a lot on the Amazon platform, and use those shared experiences to grow your business.
So if any of our audience wants to leverage your enormous Amazon skills, how do they get in touch with you? What's the best way to get in touch with you, Nikolai?
Yeah, we have a great team here at Phelps United. Whether you go to our website, phelpsunited.com, or find us on LinkedIn, we're always available. We're always here to answer questions and kind of brainstorm whatever situation's going on.
Cool. Well, take advantage of that. This guy knows it all. Nikolai, thank you so much for joining. We have to have you on again. You rock, man. Thanks for your help and thanks for your advice to everybody.
Not a
Have a
problem.
great
It's a
one.
pleasure. Thank you, Adam.
Thanks.